Welcome back to O'Reilly Raceway Park. We got a little bonus coverage of final practice here in the Nationwide Series. We get ready for the 28th running of this event here in ORP. And you're looking at the biggest surprise, in my opinion, here in the early going, guys. Trevor Bayne, the 18-year-old rookie. He jumped into the number 4 spot, and he has been turning some very consistent laps.
Yeah, the cars look real solid out there. Looks like it's handling really well for him, Marty. He's pulling in right now, as you can see, but Randy and I and yourself have been watching them all through practice, and the car looks good. I'm really impressed how low this car is in the front end. I mean, it's like a go-kart out there. The car looks really good. Absolutely. I mean, you can see on his wheels specifically, those chrome wheels, he's not using a lot of brake. Now here's a kid, Chase Austin, had high hopes this year to run with Trail Motorsports. Jared Johnson was going to run a Camping World East car out of this guy's shop, and for some reason, the whole race team just never took off. Now he's back into running some races here. Rusty, I think he drove for you last year. Yeah, he did a great job for me. Chase drove for me. We ran the entire Camping World Series one year with Chase. I believe he was 6th or 7th in the points and did a fantastic job. He would still been driving for me if I had sponsorship, but we just couldn't come up with sponsors to field Chase. But if somebody puts some money into this kid and stays with him, he's going to be great. I can promise you that.
He's 25th on the speed charts right now at 22.9 seconds. Our fast lap, 22.3 seconds by Jason Leffler. So while Chase pulls on in, so is Jason Leffler. Let's get more on the 38 Jackaroo.
Yeah, Marty, there's a certain level of confidence down here in the Great Clips pits. In the Great Clips pits, they have transitioned over from just plain race condition practice to qualifying. They just went for a mock qualifying run, and one of the things that they'll do during these mock qualifying runs is tape the grill off, get everything in the qualifying type segment, and as he pulls in, I want to show you on the front valence. You'll see down here that there's little pieces of tape. Now, what it went out with is this kind of a tie wrap end, and it was actually all the way down to the ground. Now what they've been able to gauge is just what the clearance is for the front valence in qualifying trim as compared to race trim. So they've got, by my edumacation, as they say, they've got about, maybe a 1/4 of an inch clearance when the car's at full speed, thanks to these little tie wrap clips that they taped to the front.
Jack, we just watched the front end shot of this car. It looks like the front end's all untaped. Are they getting ready to do a qualifying run right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, they are taped up. It's all taped up. It's just because it's black on black, Rusty. It's kind of tough to see. And, the easiest way you can tell when there's a qualifying run, as you know, is where the water evaporates and kind of spouts out. When this car pulled in right there, I couldn't even put my finger down. You know why? It looked like Old Faithful. They had it taped up, stopped up, and they were going for it.
Well, for Jason, he has been consistently in the top 10. Last week, he broke a string there, finishing 14th at Gateway. It's been 67 starts since he last won in the series, and that was right here back in '07. Take a look at the 2 car. That's Austin Dillon, as he is up to 29th on the speed charts, grandson.
And you see on the side of those quarter panels, it says RCR thanks. That means that Richards funded this whole thing himself.
Well, I think it's more thanks Chevrolet. I mean, Chevrolet's all over that race car. Austin's done a great job. I think he ran 3rd last year in the Camping World East points. He's got lots of experience. He's been racing for 5 or 6 years. Anything, anytime, anywhere. Dirt racing. I know he just went to it. They won a dirt race a couple weeks back. They threw him out for something that was bogus, but he does great on dirt. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if he got the talent from his granddad, because Mike Dillon, daddy. I mean, he's a little rough.
He's a little rough. Take a look at Mike Bliss right here, getting some more laps out there, trying to get this car handling good. We talked earlier in the show about he's so good at this particular racetrack's won here several times, different types of cars. And Marty, this guy just flat loves this particular track.
Well, he does, and we mentioned the fact he's won here 12 times, but never in the Nationwide Series. He'd like to put that notch on the belt, and I would not count him out tonight.
I talked to him earlier, and he said this is a short track car that, he says, Randy, one of the things that I'm a little concerned about, he goes, because they have some rule changes that you don't have to have some stuff in the car. He goes, and we still have that stuff in the car. So it tells me that the guys ain't been working on his car a whole lot.
Jack, what's the latest on the number 1?
Well, right now what Mike Bliss is trying to do is trying to fine-tune, not the exit of the corner that you saw there. Now watch on the left side of your screen when he goes down into the corner. It's the middle of the corner where he was reporting that the car tended to want to push, roll over just a slight bit. They've made some spring rubber adjustments, and they're trying to fine-tune this car. By my naked eye, guy down into that corner, it looked pretty good in the center, didn't it?
Hey, it looks pretty good to me. It looks like he's driving in the corner pretty deep, and then he diamonds the corner right in the center of the corner. Instead of keeping the line, he can actually pull that car down, Jack. And he's kind of simulating what he's going to have to do tonight to pass cars. That's what you got to be able to do.
Absolutely, that's one thing. You get this thing in the center of the corner. If you can make the straightaway longer, get the car turned quicker, pick the throttle up quicker, not like old Algar did. He kind of picked it up a little too much. If you pick the throttle up quicker, you make that straightaway a little bit longer, boy, you'll have a good shoot off of this thing.
Well, and let's talk about the fact that when we go racing tonight, it's going to be a lot cooler. The sun will be setting. And how will that change the setups, and how much do you give up here in practice knowing that that's going to happen later?
Marty, that's a great question, and we all know that when you practice during the day and race at night, it's totally different. I would say these guys want to be a little bit on the free side. You want the back of that car not hooked up perfect, because when the track cools down, the balance should come around. It's going to be better at night. About everybody you talk to will say that.
Well, practice is continuing here at O'Reilly Raceway Park, and Jason Leffler is still on top with Mike Bliss and Ron Hornaday and Trevor Bayne. That's right, the 18-year-old is still fourth. And we've got more bonus coverage from O'Reilly Raceway Park. Final practice as we get ready for qualifying later today. That was the view out of the front hood of the Great Clips 38 of Jason Leffler. It looks like he may be going for a mock qualifying run. Got a gaggle of cars getting ready to go out. That 89 right in front of him, Morgan Shepherd, the only 3-time winner here at O'Reilly Raceway Park in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. The 67-year-old will be trying to make the field. He's missed 3 of the last 4. And Morgan right now looking pretty good. He's 13th quickest on the speed charts, guys.
That's awesome. You see that thing on the windshield, top right corner? That's like a little CD disc, and they get so much information from that. They get G-loads, they get timing and scoring. That's a really neat thing that NASCAR's working on. I think the Camping World cars, the trucks, and the Nationwide cars have that.
I just got a great statistic as you look at one of those guys who's one of the young guns, Justin Allgaier. 18 drivers attempting to make the field were born after Morgan Shepherd won his first race here back in 1983.
What are you saying? He's old?
No, he's experienced.
He's old.
I'm watching Justin Allgaier right now, guys. We saw earlier he spun, and when he spun, he probably ruined those tires. You only get 6 sets of tires, but because he's a rookie, he gets an extra set. Let's take a look at this replay, see what causes it.
Until he locks them up. The back tires are always spinning. You don't flat spot them. As soon as he locked it down, you see the front tires. He locked it down, so the front tires definitely, he probably had to jump that set.
Hey, the only good thing about that, though, like I said, he is a rookie. He gets that 7th set, and that's really going to help him because of this spin.
Well, he needs some help. He's 30th on the speed chart. There you see his numbers right now. They got to find a little extra oomph before qualifying.
Looks like that car is getting down in the corner, really slamming that right front down in, making them real loose. A lot of the times they'll have that set up put into the car when they leave the shops in North Carolina. They're working with these coil-bound setups, Randy, and that causes that car to stay clamped down. And it looks like it's a little too much this time.
Absolutely. I mean, you happen to see that thing could be snow plowing out there. That thing is right on the earth. There's no air getting underneath that car.
Well, we mentioned the 38 on a possible mock qualifying run. Let's get the latest from Jackaroo.
Indeed, they are on a mock run. What they did, guys, is Rusty, you were talking about snapping up the front grille. They went all the way down. You see right below the Toyota logo, there's about 4-inch opening. That's it. Over on the side, though, you see the X on the side window. They just completed their mock run. They also stopped that cooler vent because they wanted to see with a set of sticker Goodyears just what their time would be. And it was?
Well, about 22.77, which is not as fast as his third lap at 22.3. So they didn't get the answer they were looking for.
Well, it makes me wonder, Marty, how much slower is the track right now? When they first went out, the track was cool because it just rained. There was no rubber on it. The track was probably pretty fast because we saw a lot of guys go out there run quick early. So that's a 22.77. He's laid a number down now. You're going to see a lot of guys making runs to see what they can do.
You know what? I see the 99 cars going out next. Trevor Bayne is fixing to go on the racetrack, and he is also ready to go, and he was a fast car.
Checking in on Stephen Light in the number 29. He's 14th quickest on the charts right now, Shannon.
Yeah, a little bit slow on throttle is what Stephen Light is saying. He is also saying that the tires are falling off very quickly. He says right about 3 laps, he says it goes from having grip to having absolutely no grip. They made some rear end changes last time they came down. Stephen Light is definitely looking for a solid run in this 29. He's making his 8th consecutive start, or his 8th start in this 29 car. And guys, you know, not running a full-time schedule, you're always looking to do well on the track.
Well, Shannon, I got a question for you. Has any of the other teams said the similar situation about the tires going away?
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone else down here on my side of the pit road talking about that, but Stephen Light was adamant. He said after 3 laps, it goes from grip to absolutely no grip. So maybe it's just a setup.
Okay, so what causes that occurrence?
It's just a soft tire. It's a soft, sticky, short track race tire. And about everybody I'm looking at on our tracker over here, about 1 second off the pace from the laps they laid down early. At least 3/4 of a second slower. So this is typical short track racing where the pace is just going to fall off because the tire's so sticky.
Let's check in on Brad Keselowski, last week's pole sitter, which gave him first choice. And of course, he took pit out. Surprise, surprise for tonight's race. He is 5th on the speed charts.
Marty, that's pretty unique what you just mentioned. A lot of times these guys go qualify, and how they qualify is how they get their pit selection, their pit draw. But they're based that off of last week and how they qualified. Jack, how's that 88 car doing down there?
Well, right now, Rusty, they're really trying to fine-tune the car. It's a little loose in entry and a little loose in exit. But the big thing they're concerned about, not the looseness on exit, because as you alluded to, when the race and the race conditions, you want it a little bit because the track's going to tighten up. But the fact is, right now, what they want to try and do is work on that loose on entry. They did make a spring change and a track bar adjustment. But in talking to the guys, the one thing they don't want to do is go too far in the sun.
Randy, you know, what Jack was just saying right there is pretty interesting because that's not a bad situation. He says he's loose on entry, loose on exit, so the car's doing one thing. It's not, you hear a lot of drivers say, I'm loose getting in, I'm tight to center. 2 problems. He's just got 1 problem.
Well, for Keselowski, Brad scored his first Nationwide Series top 10 right here back in 2007 when he finished 10th. And I think it was that race, if I remember correctly, that got him noticed by Dale Jr. Our bonus coverage of practice here at O'Reilly Raceway Park as we get ready for tonight's 7:30 start with NASCAR Countdown over on ESPN. Glad that you're with us as cars continue to make their way around the track. Jason Leffler is fastest right now, but he did that way back on lap number 3, guys.
Yeah, that's when the track was really cool. It rained a lot here at O'Reilly Raceway Park. There's no rubber in the track, and it looked like the racetrack was very, very fast those first 10 or 15 minutes, but now it's slowed up. There's much more rubber been put down on the racetrack, and the cars are handled a lot different.
Absolutely. You see, right now, Trevor Bayne is the quickest in a last-minute qualifying run. These guys, if you look at the 38 of Leffler, he went out and run a 70. Trevor Bayne run a 50 on his run. So these guys that are out there now in the heat of the day, it's a lot warmer. The racetrack is definitely more rubbered up. So these guys that make these qualifying runs, I'm not quite sure if they can get to the speeds that they did this morning.
Taking a look at Colin Brown right now in the 60. As there you can see he's currently 10th on the speed charts. Took over as, of course, Carl Edwards had to get back over to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jack, what's the latest that Colin's talking about?
Well, Colin Brown did get debriefed before Carl Edwards left. And where the car is right now is what Colin Brown really likes about it. Going into the corner, he feels as if it really begins to take a set, as they say, from about the middle of the corner out. And as you guys know upstairs, if you've got that allows you in race conditions to be able to really get after it on the low side and the high side. Let's check in a little further down pit road with Shannon. Shannon?
Yeah, Jack, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that 16 car was one of the first drivers to make the switch. When Matt Kenseth got out of that car, he told him that the car was tight. The conditions have not gotten much better for Ricky Stenhouse. Now, Ricky has never made a start here, but he did tell Eddie Pardue over the radio, looking back on his midget experience here at this track, he told him that some of the things that he's experiencing are some of the problems that he did in the midget car. So it was a little bit helpful, but they made some major changes. They went back to the original front shocks, a right rear spring change, and a track bar. So they're throwing everything they can at that 16 car to try to get it right for Matt tonight.
Well, and what's interesting is, if you remember last year, Colin Brown drove the 16 and finished second right behind Kyle Busch and was closing at the end of the race. Whoa, that got a little dicey. 12 car getting tied up with the 23 of Ken Butler. But Colin not in the ride this year, as it's going to be Matt Kenseth. There you see as he brings it back in. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting it tuned up for the...
Yeah, Ricky's done real good. Like Shannon was saying, done a lot of work to their car, trying to get this thing handling better for Matt Kenseth. Matt was really unhappy with this car, and the only thing he can rely on right now is his backup driver, and that's Ricky, to get this thing handling right, because it's definitely not been right all through practice.
Guys are jumping underneath that car. You see them measuring things. Obviously, they're going to change the rear end track bar, which is the roll center of that thing. 99 car is ready to go. These guys are quickest, they're second quickest right now, quickest on the latest run. You see the driver top of the screen thanking everybody. They're getting this thing ready to race tonight.
Yeah, he turned it on lap 31, so obviously their mock qualifying run, they did improve. They were fourth. Now they're up to second with the 18-year-old Trevor Bayne behind the wheel. And to put a period on Ricky Stenhouse in the 25, they're 25th right now. That's why they're diving underneath that car trying to figure it out. Let's check on the number 11 of Scott Lagasse Jr. If you weren't with us a little earlier, the news is that he will run this race and Iowa next week. And then he will give way to Denny Hamlin for at least 2 races. And the team basically wants to find out if it's the driver or if they've got a car problem.
Rusty, when you know that you're going to be out of the car, you only got 2 races to prove yourself, how much quicker, how much harder you think he's going to drive tonight?
Well, he's going to dig deep. He's going to try to say, look, it's not me, it is this car. And he'll drive his brains out. I just hope he has a good, solid night tonight.
Well, you take a look at Brendan Gaughan, currently 19th on the speed chart. His teammate, Stephen Wallace, is 18th. So the notes that they are trading have helped both of them, but still a little bit of ways to go before they can crack into the top 10. And we're not talking all that much. We're talking a best lap of 22.83 seconds for both of them. That's just about a half a second off. And Rusty, you just noticed something.
Yeah, the grills are still wide open on both of those cars, so they haven't made any qualifying runs yet. And they must be just putting all their focus into race runs right now. But as practice is starting to run down and run out, and take a look at that red and black.
So we have seen that the practice has just ended. So the 62 and all the others will be pulling into pit lane, and that will do it before we get ready for qualifying later today here at O'Reilly Raceway Park.
Marty, there's a lot of guys that just do not do qualifying runs. They spend all their time. I watched Kyle Busch do that many times, does not do a qualifying run. I like doing it so you know where you're at, but obviously these guys are not doing it now, looking for all that practice time they can get.
So it ends up with Jason Leffler with that 3rd lap. We thought that would go lower, but he was the fastest at 22.3 seconds. That translates to 110.5 miles an hour. We're going to go racing later tonight, 7:30 Eastern. We'll have the NASCAR Nationwide Series with countdown starting. 4 different winners in the last 4 races here at O'Reilly Raceway Park. Stay with us. We'll talk to some of the drivers when we come back.